All right, well, welcome everybody. My name is Dan Sloan with SME, and we want to welcome everybody for joining us today. We're excited to highlight Textron Aviation as part of the 2025 SME Excellence in Manufacturing Training Award. As you're going to hear shortly, as we get into the conversation today, you're going to hear how Textron Aviation has built one of the most comprehensive and innovative workforce development programs, which includes apprenticeships, a fabulous world-class facility, a terrific and supportive employee and leadership culture. And I don't want to steal too much of the thunder, but these are the types of things we're going to be talking about today, and how Textron is really winning the talent war. And so we'll get into that and share that in just a moment. I'd like to introduce our two co-panelists today for receiving the award and sharing a little bit from Textron Aviation. We have Jennifer Whitfield and Michelle Gifford from the Human Resources Organization, and they really together and their teams support all around not just upskilling and training, but all strategies and programs related to talent acquisition and talent upskilling and talent retention. And so maybe I'll just hand it over to Jennifer to say hello and introduce yourself, and then we'll hear from Michelle.
Great, thank you so much. Excited to be here today to talk about our facility. So my name's Jennifer Whitfield. I'm a director in human resources here at the company. I've been with the company for, 26 years. And started on the shop floor. So I started as an aircraft and power plant mechanic on the floor, and moved my way around, found myself in the role that I'm at now, which is leading our training and development team. So we have responsibility for training all of our new employees in manufacturing and our service facilities across the US. And then also provide leadership training for our professional employees, as well as maintain all of our manufacturing and service certifications on the shop floor.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Michelle?
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Michelle Gifford, and I'm also part of the Human Resources team here at Textron Aviation. Similar to Jennifer, I've been here just a little over 27 years. But my career path has been very different. So I started in the finance organization, but a majority of my career has been supporting the shop floor. So even within finance, I was supporting the financial reporting from a shop floor perspective. So spent several years in that organization, then transitioned over into continuous improvement, Six Sigma Black Belt, lean manufacturing. We went through that era here. And then from there, I actually went out to the shop floor and helped implement some of our visual management and onboards. Went back to finance and then came over to human resources in 2013. So again, a different path to HR and to where I am today. But I think the combined experience between Jennifer and I is what lends to, I would say, the facility and the processes that we've been able to build and implement here at Textron Aviation, in conjunction and collaboration with our operations partners. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go as well.
So I'm so excited that both of you are going to be able to share your unique perspectives, not only just because of your long tenure with Textron Aviation Systems, but as you just cited, Michelle, I suspect you'll be able to share a lot of those key metrics and those key principles and data systems that are really critical to not just designing effective workforce programs, but really proving out the value and earning that kind of that longstanding commitment and support across the organization. So I'm really excited to hear from you, and I know others joining us today will as well. Well, maybe to get started, if I'll hand it back over to both of you, tell us a little bit about your operations in Wichita, and I know you prepared us some slides to help us become more familiar with your program.
Yeah, so we're headquartered in Wichita, Kansas. Just shy of 11,000 employees here in Wichita, but we are the leading manufacturer in general aviation. We've been inspiring the journey of flight for almost 100 years. So 2027 will actually be our 100th anniversary. We are a combination of Cessna aircraft and Beechcraft. So the two companies came together in 2014. So you're probably familiar with Beechcraft or Cessna, but maybe not necessarily Textron Aviation. But these two powerhouse brands combined in 2014. So I'll let Jen talk a little bit about maybe our service business as well, because that's really her background.
Yes, so we have a number of service centers across the globe. That includes 11 here domestically, and I'm probably going to get my numbers wrong, Michelle, 7, I think, in Europe and Asia Pacific. So not only do we manufacture our aircraft, but we maintain them as well. So once they leave our factory here in Wichita, we have a wide variety of maintenance support and field service engineers across the globe, ready to help our customers at any moment, 24/7.
Terrific. Well, so we'd love to learn more about your program and how it was structured, why it was structured, what's been working for you, maybe some of your key obstacles and lessons learned, maybe an opportunity to get into a little bit of your presentation today. And then I know we've got some questions here to help share some of your program with our group.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and dive in. We were working to upload a video here that talks about Textron Aviation, so we'll see if it plays, and if it doesn't, we'll just drive on to the next slide.
Yeah, I think it should play.
All right.
Okay, let's give it a shot.
It says it's opening.
There's just something about soaring through the air. Cessna and Beechcraft aircraft have been inspiring the journey of flight for more than 95 years. From the young people who we invite on their first discovery flight, to our employees and the thousands of others who share our passion to design, to build, and support the machines that transform time, redefine the journey, connect us to a world of opportunities, today and beyond. With the most iconic aircraft and the most deliveries of any business and general aviation company in the world, we empower people to take flight by opening the skies.
Okay, so that's a little bit about Textron Aviation and the vast array of products and a little bit about our history. But obviously it takes talented individuals to be able to deliver on those commitments to our customers around products and services. And so the challenge we were facing, and if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, is very similar to many of you. So what you have represented here on this slide is our shop floor attrition within the first year. So individuals we hired, went through the process, Jen's team trained them, and exited within the first year. You can see here that we didn't peak in COVID. So COVID wasn't our peak. We went even higher. And so the numbers on this slide are very close to 50% turnover within the first year when we hit this plateau here in this slide. So proud to say that that number is coming down, but we knew we had to do something different. And so something different, not only on the hiring and talent attraction slide, but also on the retention piece. So as you can imagine, the churn that happens on the shop floor, basically for every 2 we brought in, right, 1 was leaving, if you want to think about it that way. And that's a lot of churn. And so that's a lot of cost to the business. Not only on the hiring and training side, but just factory productivity overall. So when we think about those performance metrics, this was very, very costly to the business, and we knew we had to do something different. So let's talk about the journey and how we got to something different. Jen?
Yeah, so on this journey, we kind of recognized we had to do something different. But Michelle and I said, okay, where do we even start? So we started with some industry benchmarking. We thought, let's look at some of the bigger manufacturers here in the United States, and how are they handling things. We talked to folks at Boeing, at Ford, Airbus, Gulfstream, but then also locally. We have flight safety offices here. We talked to BG Products here in Wichita, just to really learn how they're both onboarding and then training a large volume of employees. Once we completed that, Michelle, do you want to talk about kind of the solution that we came across?
Yeah, so I think if we click a slide, it's going to kind of show us the build out here. But part of this was really, we kind of knew what we needed in terms of space. So Jen's team had done a great job of improving training, but it was tucked away in pockets and corners of our factories. And so knowing we had to do better, but again, we were tucking people here and there from a training perspective. On the hiring side, we were difficult to do business with. People would give up. People would literally get lost. So we have 4 campuses across Wichita, Kansas, and in order to get hired on by us, there was not a person you could face-to-face come and talk to. So we were still living a bit in that COVID era where we just like to do everything virtually. We think everyone lives on their phone and they want to do everything on an app. When it comes to hiring, I would tell you that we have found that people appreciate face-to-face. And so what you're seeing here is really the build out of our facility, the time lapse, but we were able to secure 100,000 square feet that already existed on our property after touring many, many places across Wichita to really be able to centralize that hiring and training process, providing that face-to-face place where individuals can come in. And we'll talk a little bit more about what those places and spaces look like. But in addition to that solution, we knew we had to continue to cultivate workforce pipelines. And on the next slide, you'll see here that there are many, many workforce pipelines that we work in. And oftentimes I get feedback, my goodness, can't you just pick 1 or 2, right? Why are there 10 things on this slide that you're doing? And what I would tell you is that it takes every single one of these because we have not found one answer to the workforce crisis, I'll just call it, that we are in. And so we spend a lot of time recruiting in the military space. And so I actually have 2 program managers who do a lot of work in that space. We are an authorized skill bridge provider, and I'm happy to go into that a little bit more if someone has questions on what that is. We also know that experience and exposure for K-12 students is very, very important. And so as part of our new location, we actually have a dedicated space for students and for educators to come into. We offer high school internship programs. And so we started out with 5 in 2017. We put them all in HR. I'm sure they had a terrible experience with us because honestly, I had teenagers at home at the time and thought, goodness, why would I bring my teenagers to work? How's this going to actually work? But I will tell you, we have found great success in that program. And now we're up to over 150 high schoolers who join us every summer. And they get that experience and exposure. It's a paid internship. We also bring educators in during the summer as well. We know that they're the influencers. And so how do we educate them on Textron Aviation and everything that we have to offer from a career perspective? University relations, we obviously rely on college graduates from a college internship program and filling those entry-level professional roles. In addition to the high school interns, we host about 400 college interns on our campus every summer, again, with a paid internship. We also know that demographics are changing. And so offering alternative work, part-time work, how do we bring our retirees back? We call that our alumni program, but how do we continue to engage them on a more limited basis and really draw into their skills and experience to educate the next generation? From an upskilling perspective, we offer an internal airframe and power plant upskilling program for our current employees. And so making sure that they have a path to upskill if they choose. And Jen can talk about recertifications that we do as well when she talks more about training. Second chance hiring. So those are individuals coming out of the justice system, the justice involved individuals. You might hear them referred to in different ways, but partnering with a local organization who provides transition services to those individuals. And so they're able to get a high school diploma and a technical certificate at the same time. We then partner with them as they are reintegrating into society. They're teaching them budgeting skills, they're teaching them social skills, but then they're also gaining that valuable technical certification. And so partnering with them in terms of job shadowing and tours, and then interviewing and hiring them. And I will tell you, that program actually has the highest retention rate of any of the programs that we have. And so I'm very proud of the work that we do in that space. But again, it's a limited number of folks that come in through any one of these pipelines. Just as important as partnering with our four-year universities, partnering with our technical schools. So Jennifer mentioned our locations domestically that we have. And so making sure that we have near site partnerships and relationships with those technical schools into those service centers. Registered apprenticeships, we have 9 registered apprenticeship programs across 3 states, so Michigan, Arizona, and Kansas. And we work with our local technical school partners to provide the RTI, or the related technical instruction. And then their on-the-job training, or OJT, happens at our facilities. And so we've got those across many of our manufacturing roles as well. And so again, trying to tap into various pipelines, knowing that it takes a little bit from all of these to meet our needs. So next slide, please. So here you can see just a few pictures around the centralized hiring and training. So I referenced earlier, people appreciate face-to-face. And I think I really maybe underestimated what our face-to-face and walk-in traffic would be. I have some numbers to share here at the end of the presentation, but we are open to the public Monday through Friday. And so 7:30 to 4:30, extended hours on Wednesdays, individuals can just walk in and say, I'm looking for a job. And that has proven very beneficial and helpful. Oftentimes what we post externally might not resonate with the general public. Makes perfect sense to us internally as a manufacturer, but maybe not externally. And so having them come in, we can help them provide resume support. You see, we have 8 application kiosks. So we have recruiters on site. They sit down, they walk them through the application process. We also have interview rooms here in the location. And so again, trying to get everything into one place for the candidate experience. One of the things we've done in this interview space is we actually have 2 frontline leaders who worked on the shop floor, and they are now with us. One of them's been with us for almost 2 years now. So they provide the consistency in that interview process. In addition to that, their experience from the shop floor to gauge attitude and aptitude through that consistent interview process can maybe redirect to a better role up front in the things they learn through that process. And that's a lot easier to do face-to-face, but also on the front end of the process versus getting all the way through that training process and going, goodness, this isn't the right fit. There are still some times that happens, but we are able to compensate for that on the front end a lot better. Pre-employment testing. So we do require drug and alcohol testing for all of our shop floor roles. So we brought our third-party vendor on site with us. Some of our roles also require a physical ability test as part of pre-employment. And that includes things like push, pull, step, stand, and grip strength. We also brought that third-party provider on site. So again, trying to coordinate and consolidate to enhance that candidate experience. I'll jump down and talk about the K-12 space real quick. I mentioned it a bit earlier, but again, a dedicated and secure space. So we know that if we're responsible for students on site, we need to make sure that they can be in a secure space. And so that is a space that is not just open access to the public, but is able to be cordoned off specific to those students and meet their needs. It's also, we have the ability to push the chairs out of the way. We can do, balsa wood gliders, coloring pages. We have a full flight simulator in there as well. So maybe for our older students, but we really work to take the students and educators through the design, build, fly processes and help them understand, again, that comprehensive career opportunity that we have at Textron Aviation. So I'll turn it over to Jen to talk about classrooms and labs and transition into training.
So Michelle mentioned earlier that our training spaces were kind of tucked into all of our production areas and our service center, which really led us to have more of a classroom setting and less of a hands-on working environment. So we're super fortunate with this space that we were able to really change the way that the training looks. So we knew we couldn't just transition our training over into this building as is. We had to make some big changes. Our shop floor employees had to be productive when they leave training. So those days of just sitting in a classroom and walking through PowerPoint slides on end were just not cutting it. We knew we had to make a change. So we did a lot of research in understanding adult learning and lean into the tell, show, do, and review approach. This allows our new employees to work in this very safe, comfortable environment as they're learning, and we can give them some guided lessons. And then as a team, we agreed going forward, all of the technical training classes would lean into what we call an 85-15 model. 85% of every course has to be hands-on, and 15% can be reserved for some lecture or PowerPoint opportunities. So for an 8-hour class, you're looking at 7 hours of hands-on activities. This allows our employees to practice the skills they need for all of their work in manufacturing or in service in this very safe, comfortable environment.
This next slide, it's my favorite slide. So I try to insert it every time we get a chance to talk about our facility, but this is our K-12 space. This is a group of 36 first graders. And so we brought them out. You can see they've got their coloring pages and their balsa gliders. But in addition to that, we split them into groups and we actually took them on a factory tour. We put on safety glasses, we put on hearing protection. We said, stay on the aisle between these lines and we'll go see airplanes. And they were super excited. But I think, you know, ancillary to that, our employees were super excited to see these young people out there asking questions and maybe seeing themselves in these roles at some point in the future. So if you're not taking students to your factory floor, I encourage you to do it. The benefits will definitely outweigh the risk. Figure out how to do it safely, but it's definitely worth it to see their bright little minds start to think about the future and the possibilities. So next, let's just go on a quick building tour to give you a little bit more information of the layout. And so here you can see the layout of the facility. So I'll talk about kind of the front half of the facility or the public facing space and give you a little bit of perspective. And then Jen can talk a little bit more about some of the classrooms. The first slide you'll see here, this is really the public facing space. So this is our lobby, our security area. So being open to the public, it was very important that we have security on site with us. So we do have an armed security guard on site with us anytime we're open to the public. And then you see that career zone space there, which is where our application kiosks and our 8 interview rooms sit. Just behind there, you transition back into a secure space, which is where our third-party vendors are. So we have, again, our drug and alcohol testing, as well as our physical ability testing back there. One thing I failed to mention a little earlier is we have a computer lab on site as well, and we share that space with Jennifer's tech training team. And a couple things that we do in there. So one of the things that as we work to remove barriers to employment and time to hire is we discovered that many people who have the skills and the attitude that we would love to hire sometimes didn't have a high school diploma or GED. And so we started looking at, and we have in fact implemented ACT work keys in lieu of high school diploma or GED. So if you're not familiar with work keys, it is administered by ACT, so the same company that does the college entrance exam. It is an online standardized assessment, really looking at their ability in the English language around reading, writing, and math. And so we're able to perform that test here on site. Prior to that, there was one other location here in Wichita, again, sending people to yet another address to get hired by us to take this exam. And so being able to have that here on site is very beneficial. The other thing we dual purpose this lab for on the hiring side is on Fridays, we have our benefits team come over and we do what's called a benefits lab. And so they are walking people through all of the total rewards that we offer. We find that sometimes people we hire have never set up direct deposit. They haven't selected insurance. They haven't done 401k. And so we are not going to give financial, tax, or legal advice, but we will walk you through what the offerings are and let you make that decision. But you're in a safe environment with access to a laptop to be able to log in, and we'll walk you through those things. We get great feedback out of that. I think oftentimes if people were trying to do this on their own, like many of us, you sometimes get frustrated with technology or the logins or the process, and frankly give up. And so again, just trying to help that candidate experience through the process. So over to Jen to talk about how she uses that same space.
Yeah, so in the blue is our learning zone. We have 6 classrooms that have workbenches and stools instead of tables and chairs. They've got power and air at each employee station, along with all of the required tools for the specific class that they're in. We have a dedicated blueprint training space, so room for 50 employees that we can instruct on blueprint. We've got 4 standard classrooms that we use for some of our professional training, our safety trainings. And then we have an open lab that we utilize in partnership with Michelle for some of our K-12 students. Sometimes we host a course we call Sheet Metal for Business Professionals. We'll get a handful of folks from maybe finance or engineering over, and we'll spend 4 hours with them drilling holes and shooting rivets. And so it's a great opportunity for them to get some perspective on what those jobs look like every day. I will say that face-to-face interaction, kind of that candidate experience that Michelle really talked about, it doesn't stop with just that application and the interview. We've tried really hard to carry that through the employee's entire journey at the Career and Learning Center. I have my team members are at the door every morning, greeting all of our new employees, welcoming them back, making sure they know where they're going, which classroom they're in. On Thursday afternoons, we have a graduation ceremony. We found out that not all of the folks coming through our doors have had moments to celebrate some of their accomplishments. So we all gather up, we have some cookies, we give out certificates, and a lot of clapping. We're excited for those folks and their new journey. And then on Fridays, we do warm handoffs. So we take them on our lovely vans that we have for our facility and take them across town. We introduce them to their new leader. We show them where they park, where the turnstile they enter, where to clock in, where the restrooms are, all of those basic things so that they can be comfortable and confident when they start their job that next Monday.
So this is just a few more pictures here. The top left just shows a couple individuals waiting in the lobby. We've got the check-in desk at the top right, a picture of the computer lab in the bottom left, and then those application kiosks in the bottom right. The other thing I would say is, we're covering a lot of things today, and we were fortunate enough to be able to do all of these things. What I would challenge each of you on the call is to think about your processes and where's 1 or 2 things that we talk about today that could help you and your teams when it comes to workforce and training. So back to you, Jen.
Yeah, so just a little bit more about the learning zone and the work that we're doing with our new employees. We've really designed a curriculum that we believe has set us apart from other manufacturers. We start the new employees with general information. They start out doing introduction to tools, learning how to use hand tools, introduction to our engineering specifications, logging into our computers, learning how to find specifications in the system and why they're so important. And then we give them the skills to build on that foundation. So a new sheet metal mechanic here at the company will spend 8 weeks in training. 5 of those weeks will be in a simulated shop floor. So to the west of our building is a 50,000 square foot hangar, essentially. They'll do 3 weeks learning sheet metal safety, drilling, riveting. Once that's complete, they'll spend 2 weeks working on projects that we've designed that replicate the work they'll do in the factory. And you can see one of those pictures in the bottom of the screen there in the corner. They'll work on a doubler inside a Sky Courier wing. They'll work on stringers on a CJ4 forward cabin. They'll work on projects that mimic hydraulic line installations or seat track installations, leading edges. Every morning, our instructors act like their supervisor for those last couple of weeks. They go through safety briefings, stretches, they distribute those assignments for the day. The employees have to gather their materials and their tools just like they would on the shop floor. We continue to partner with our operations team throughout the training process. We've got a steering committee that meets regularly to discuss the challenges and changes needed in training. We've consistently been told that the new employees have increased confidence, more diverse skill sets, and just the overall transition to the shop floor is much better. So we're very proud of the work that we're doing here. I think one thing that I neglected to mention previously on the last kind of tour area was our success coaches. We have 2 success coaches on our team that really are there to help our employees as they transition into full-time employment at our company. We know many of you, employees, you see the same things. Employees are bringing their entire selves to work. And sometimes that means they don't have childcare. Sometimes that means they don't have transportation or even a home. And I've got a couple of folks on my team that really have some great skills and background, understand some of the offerings that we have here in the city, the county, and the state. And they can help those folks really get back on track. With a lot of assistance with alarm clocks and helping people with getting to work on time. But it really ranges everything from, again, childcare to even working on homes for those folks too. I think we're going to transition next into some of the results. And I think you're up first, Michelle.
Yep. Thanks, Jen. So from a talent acquisition perspective, what are we measuring? What have we seen? And what's to come? And so when we think about our time to clear pre-employment, so I mentioned those third-party vendors being off-site, sending people to multiple locations. Before we moved into this facility, we were averaging about 20 days to clear those pre-employment. So that's going to be their background, their drug screen, and their physical ability test. And work keys when they needed that. And so that's down to just over 11 days since we've moved into the CLC. We opened this facility in August of 2024. We then had a work stoppage for 5 weeks in the October timeframe of 2024. So we were closed to the public and then reopened once that work stoppage was over. So have just over a year really under our belts to see how we're doing. When we talk about interviews and testing, you can see the number of interviews, the number of drug tests, the number of physical ability tests, and then visitors and walk-ins. So this was really a number that has surprised me in a good way from a walk-in perspective. In fact, when I came in just after 7:30 this morning, we already had one person who was over getting assistance with applying, and we had just opened the doors at 7:30. And so we continue to see walk-ins on a daily basis. We track that. We haven't necessarily seen a good traffic pattern, I would say, to look at it and say, oh my gosh, Wednesday afternoons or Friday mornings or Tuesdays, right? It really just varies throughout the week, but every single day we have people walking into the facility saying, hey, I heard I can apply for a job here. And so that's been kind of fun to watch unfold. And then just unique visitors as well. So we do track that. So everyone who comes in, they check in. And then we ask them if they want to opt into text messages from us. One of the things that allows us to do then is to send out a satisfaction survey. So when they exit, we send them a quick text satisfaction survey. And that's where that experience, positive experience rating is coming from. And so we continue to get strong feedback from that. And I would just summarize all of that to say candidate experience makes a difference.
So looking at the metrics for training and development, we've been able to increase our capacity because we have some more space here. Previously, it was, the max that I would ask Michelle to bring us was 30 employees. We're upwards of 50 employees now. In that year that we've been opened, we've trained over 800 new employees. Over 800 current employees. I mentioned earlier that we have responsibility for all of our certs and qualifications. So we manage about 50,000 certifications across the organization. Those employees have to come back for training every year or 2 years, depending. And then over 700 leaders have received some sort of professional training. What we're most excited about is our improvement in retention. So Michelle started out with a slide kind of showing the challenges that we had for those employees with less than 1 year and departing the company. And we've seen on average, about 15% improvement in that retention number as a result of the training here in the Career and Learning Center, really giving folks the ability to train in a factory setting on scaled parts, and giving them that exposure up front has made a significant difference. The exciting part is we're not done. We're continuing to partner with service and operations on new projects that represent the challenges they see every day. We have a paint booth on order, and so we'll be transitioning to paint training here in the facility. We have training for interior technicians, teaching things like installation and sewing and carpet binding. You mentioned earlier that we've been so grateful for winning the 2025 Excellence in Training Award from the SME team. It's really opened up a wide variety of contacts in manufacturing. So we've been able to share the impacts that we're making and then learn from other manufacturers too. Overall, really the CLCs allowed us to turn manufacturing challenges into a competitive advantage. We have one more slide for you, just so you've heard a lot from us, but give you an opportunity to hear from some of our employees about the facility as well. So let me see if we can get that working.
I was pretty impressed when I first walked into the Learning Center.
I wasn't very intimidated by it because everyone was super welcoming.
Within 15 minutes of arriving, I was sitting in an office having an interview for a job that I was eventually offered.
My team is the direct recipients of the training folks that come out of the new training building.
Once they walk through those doors, we need to educate them on not just on whatever skills they're going to need to do their job, but the actual culture of Textron Aviation.
I had very good instructors.
I had no idea how to read a blueprint at first, but within the next, couple of days, I definitely grasped all the information.
I'm being set up on a path for success.
We are seeing more than just being prepared. We're seeing positive attitudes, folks feeling more comfortable about the role that they're stepping into, more of an understanding.
They want you to do stuff that you're going to be doing on the floor, so you really can gain all the knowledge you can here and then go out there and be as great as you can be.
I am excited about all of the opportunities here.
But I just know that there's endless opportunities.
I'm glad to be here. One team winning together.
One team winning together.
One team
winning together.
One team winning together.
Fabulous. Anything else?
I think that wraps up our slides.
Yeah. Open up for questions.
Thank you very much. And there's a lot of questions coming into the chat, and in a moment I'm going to open them and bring them forward. But first of all, want to just thank you again for sharing what an incredible story and very nicely organized. What some of the notes I've been taking down, really starting with that pipeline piece, how you're working with all of those pipelines, I think you mentioned, in your community particularly, to look at exposing those opportunities in manufacturing and getting folks into the hopper. And that we know that can be down into the school, into the primary education. It can work with transitioning vets. It can work with justice involved. And so you made the nice point that these are different audiences, but they all can add value. They can all be helpful. So I'm going to come back with a couple of questions about pipeline, and then we can move forward, hopefully then into some of the actual training configuration, because you've got incredible, buy-in and consensus, it seems, from your organization when you talk about your steering committee and the instructors who are giving their time in those classrooms, right? That takes a group effort and a lot of commitment. And so I'd like to hear what it is that you're delivering back to the enterprise that might be supporting, that kind of consensus and cultural support for this program success. And then lastly, hopefully we can save time for retention. Your vector is heading in the right direction, but obviously we know, that if you do this right, you're going to really, support productivity, you're going to improve safety, you're going to ultimately then support retention. And so hopefully an opportunity to get back into a couple of additional comments around what's really working there around retention. And so if I could just real quickly, coming back to pipeline, I'll ask a question and then I'm going to pull from the chat. Can you talk a little bit about Textron's current role helping just expose opportunities in manufacturing? And I'm kind of speaking a little bit for the entire webinar community, because having been to Wichita myself, I know that Textron Aviation is one of the very large employers there. A lot of the social life and the families and the businesses are all really centered around your enterprise. And so certainly a lot of awareness. But do you find that you also need to go a bit further to really help the community understand about the potential and the careers in manufacturing inside your four walls?
Yeah, I do. So as you referenced, I think we're currently sitting at number 2 in terms of employment here in Wichita, but we've been here nearly 100 years. And so generations of families have worked here. It's hard to go anywhere and not run into someone who knows someone who works certainly in the aviation industry, but maybe more importantly connected to Textron Aviation. So that experience and exposure, though, is very important. So as we all know, in some cases, manufacturing has gotten a bad rap, right? It's dark, it's dirty, it's dangerous, right? And so how do we again, show individuals that Textron Aviation is a safe place to work, right? We provide quality products. We care about our employees. We care about our community. And so that experience and exposure is vitally important. I would say prior to COVID, we had maybe started to open our doors a little bit, but really the community was rallying around business and education. And how do we bring business and education together to show what those opportunities are from a talent pipeline perspective? Like many communities, we had out-migration, right? Young people were not choosing to stay here post-graduation. And so we had already worked to bring business and education together, really on both sides, opening our doors. So we were not easy to do business with from a community, like come see what we do inside. We are a great community partner, but not necessarily doors open, come see what we do here. I would say schools were the same way. It was difficult to get into the schools to be able to access the students. And so I think both sides recognized that and had started to work towards that pre-COVID. COVID obviously shut everything down. But this facility gives us that opportunity to bring students here, to take them out and tour, even if we just go tour the training part of the facility, right? We like to say that simulated shop floor looks like a factory, smells like a factory, sounds like a factory. So they understand, yes, it's loud. Yes, we build things. This is how big a wing is. And so starting to expose that not only to the students, but the educators has become vitally important.
Excellent. And Jennifer, I just wanted to check and see if there's anything you wanted to add. Otherwise, I can move on.
No, Michelle and I have this great partnership where she owns the workforce programs and brings the folks to my team, and then we work through the training. So yeah, that's definitely her area of expertise.
One of the questions from the chat, and many of us have, can you tell us, do you have annual hiring goals? Obviously you have job openings, but when you start looking at kind of metrics and targets and hit rates and retention on an annual basis, what kind of figures are you working with?
Yeah, so I would say, majority of obviously the training that we're doing, Jen does provide professional training, but a majority of the hiring and training that we are doing specifically at the Career and Learning Center really leans into those direct shop floor roles, and obviously Wichita centric. So we hire about 100 folks a month through our facility here that are coming in and going to the training piece of it. Many of our professional hires come out of our internship program. So our talent strategy has really been to promote from within and backfill at the entry level. So that's where that, university relations college internship program becomes vitally important. So we look at that, and then just from other metrics, I would say typical kind of talent acquisition metrics around time to hire, time to fill, recruiter workload. So we're looking at all of those things. So our hiring targets really depend on the needs of the business and the market of the business. And obviously, as we improve those first year retention numbers, that alleviates a little bit of pressure off the talent acquisition team to not have to replace that in a 2-for-1 kind of manner, like I mentioned earlier. So yeah, we definitely have goals and targets, and I'll let Jen talk about on the training side as well.
Yeah, so our challenges are really limited to the number of employees in a particular classification. We are a union facility here in Wichita. So we work with Michelle to ensure that if we need to hire some avionics technicians, that we just don't hire one, that we can bring in a couple. Otherwise, I have an instructor and a classroom tied up for one person. So it's really a great partnership, especially with having both of our teams sit in the same building, that we can work together to understand what the requirements of the business are and how we can make that fit. All of our employees are hired into a specific job classification. There are a number of them here that we have. My team in the training side has responsibility for placement. So we'll work with that employee, understand their skill set, look at the openings available, and then place them into a role once their training is complete.
How hard has it been to fill open positions after it's all said and done? And whether you want to go all the way back to dark, dirty, and dingy, or just some of the other challenges in the pipeline, you've done such a great job with so many different facets of the pipeline: neurodiverse and skill bridge, transitioning vets, and getting down into the schools. How, at the end of the day, are you still coming up short from a headcount perspective? And I'll lay that over to your instructors as well. How challenging is it for you to find and retain, align, and your instructors? And if you want to talk a little bit about any of your standardized OJT or some of the practices you put in place to reinforce those instructors, and some of that experiential learning, particularly that they're doing, all of that 85% of hands-on training. Comment a little bit on numbers and maybe take it over to instructors. Thank you.
Yeah. So
Michelle, do you want to start?
I'll start on the hiring piece. So I would say, as a company, we had to come to the realization and admit that there's a skills gap with the workforce we're hiring. So I would say workforce of the past, like many of you have experienced, maybe they worked on a farm, maybe they changed their own oil, they had done some hands-on work. And so coming into this setting, again, wasn't as much of a surprise, right? I mean, Jen has stories of people coming in and they've never held a screwdriver, right? They've never done any of those things. And so I would say, as a company, we had to recognize that a skilled workforce that was just going to show up with the skills and come to work on time all day, every day, that workforce doesn't exist anymore. And so we had to come to that realization. I think that turnover really helped us build the business case around this facility and this spend, because of the churn on the shop floor and the cost to the business relative to that productivity impact. So I think our first step was really admitting and recognizing that skills gap existed, and then how did we work to fill it? So many of the folks we're hiring, many of our job postings are 0 to 3 months of experience. So there are some cases that we are hiring, an airframe and power plant mechanic. Obviously, they have to have an FAA certification. We have programs to help individuals achieve that. But our business obviously would like to have people with experience come into those roles. And we all know that you can only, you can get too saturated with entry level, no experience folks as well, which is also tough. And so we do still have hard to fill roles, like airframe and power plant mechanics with experience on our products. But many of the roles we are filling are entry level, which then transitions over into the work that Jen and her team must do to get them up to the skill level. So over to Jen to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm incredibly fortunate. We have a leadership team here at the company that believes in training and makes that a priority. So I have a team of just shy of 100 people that are here to ensure that our employees are successful. That includes about 25 instructors. So we have our own instructors. We create our own curriculum. Many of these instructors worked on the shop floor, and in some cases for a decade or 2 or 3. And now they're here trying to help the next generation be successful. On top of that, I've got just over 50 on-the-job trainers. So once an employee has completed their training here at the Career and Learning Center, when they go to their role on their shop floor, their product line, there'll be an embedded on-the-job trainer there to help them kind of transition into that next phase of work. They're there to, again, ensure that employees can be successful, do some hands-on learning with them, help them in a specific job if they're struggling, those kinds of things. So I like to say that I collect the helpers here at the company. I've got a great group of folks who really just want to help people be successful so that the company can thrive. I haven't had any challenges here with the instructors or the SOJT side. Mm-hmm.
So I know that this next question, the answer can be tied perhaps to the individual specific job roles that are you supporting. I'm going to ask a little bit about your curriculum, but really more about the modality to get into the curriculum. Are you finding the application of any of these emerging training technologies, augmented reality, virtual reality, self-paced learning? What kinds of stories might you share, not only on what's working, but maybe lessons learned on your journey, just knowing that so many of the listeners today are kind of setting out, staring up at the mountain and wondering how technology can drive improved human performance?
Yeah, so from a self-paced training perspective, we go back and forth. We've had opportunities for our new employees to spend about a day and a half doing some self-paced learning. We've discovered that's a challenge because everyone has their own pace. And so trying to get these cohorts of folks through the necessary trainings has been a challenge. We've kind of taken a step back there and have transitioned some of that self-paced training into instructor-led. Again, here on the new employee side, but on the current employees, we lean heavily into self-paced training. We hired a couple of folks that are instructional designers. So they create a lot of our e-learning, have really taken that up a notch for us so that we have some great curriculum for our employees already on the shop floor. From a augmented reality, a virtual reality, we're partnering with our IT and our engineering team. They're implementing some really great things over in engineering and production. And so just learning how we can transition that into a training space, how we can maybe use that virtual reality in our A&P training courses, where we tell someone, you know what, you're going to go change this starter generator on this King Air. And they have to go look through the maintenance manual and understand how to find the details of where that starter generator is and what's required. Then they go to the virtual reality and they find it and they take it off the aircraft. So we've got some great things kind of in work that we're really excited about for the future.
Thank you. A couple more questions from the chat. Just going back to the comment you made, Jennifer, I think it was about the 100 or so on your team, 25 being some of those instructors. How does that compare against, again, your employees there at the Wichita facility? Yeah, I'll just ask that to start.
I think we here in Wichita, from a shop floor perspective, it's, I'm going to say, around 6,000 employees that we're supporting from a shop floor. And again, that's in a very large number of jobs, duties, and classifications across the board. That's kind of what we're looking at in Wichita. But I will also say that we partner with our facilities, both international and domestic. So our service center team members, when they have new employees, they come spend a week here at the Career and Learning Center as well. So we're trying to not just focus on Wichita, but keeping that our priority, but thinking about those outside as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And Michelle, was there anything you wanted to add to the headcount question, or I can move? I've got more here just in the interest of time. Lots of interest in your high school program. Did I hear that correct? 5 to 150?
Yeah.
In your
last year we had 100.
Right.
Yeah. Last year we had 160. And so that is really a community-backed program. I would say we took it and ran with it, maybe more so than others. I can talk about workforce programs all day long, but one quick fact on our high school internships, we require on-site interviews for those high school internships because we think it's important for them to come through the process. So they interview, they onboard, they drug test, they do all the things and become an employee with Textron Aviation. But more importantly, last year we had over 500 applicants. We had applicants from, I believe it was just shy of 10 different states. So we're reaching beyond just our local population here. And I always tell my community friends that we've disappointed more than we delighted because these students want to do work. They want to come see about manufacturing, and we are not able to take them all on. We are taking our share, but we also have to make sure they can have a good experience. At the same time, our college intern population is here. So if you are not engaging with high school students, I can help you. I can talk to you about all the barriers we had to overcome to get here. But it is a great, great pipeline for us. Even if they don't hire on with us, they're going to go tell their friends about their experience.
And if I could just stay with apprenticeships for a moment, well, certainly high schools, but can you add a little more clarification between formal DOL apprenticeships? I think you mentioned 3 states. And then what we might find in high schools, I didn't know if those were paid apprenticeships or perhaps pre-apprenticeships, but if you could provide a little more detail, that would be terrific.
Yeah, so today the apprenticeships we're doing that are registered with Department of Labor, I mentioned the 3 states, Kansas, Arizona, and Michigan. Those are traditional or adult registered apprenticeships. We have not yet transitioned into the pre-apprenticeship or the youth apprenticeship space. I would say Kansas was lagging a little bit when it came to the ease of doing business with around apprenticeships, and they have made great strides from a state perspective. And so we're relatively new in the registered apprenticeship space. We were doing some earn and learn programs previously, but youth and pre-apprenticeships are definitely on our radar for 2026 or 2027.
So internships is probably the better.
Our high school is an internship.
Yeah. No, thank you for that.
Yep.
Excellent. So I know we're coming up on time a little bit. I wanted to come back to both of you. Certainly thank you again, but what comments might each of you have? And I'll give you each an opportunity to respond. Jennifer, I'll come to you first. And that would just be for all of the employers who would like to go out and put shovel in the dirt and build a program, whether it's building a 100,000 square foot facility or just trying to take advantage of some existing space. Why have you been as effective and successful as you have been, and what could companies of any size, employers of any size, really take away as some of those key lessons learned in building a training organization like you have?
Yeah, so this, I will say, we've put together this lovely presentation and this, video of the construction, but this wasn't done quickly. Michelle and I spent probably over 6 years working on this idea, toured a number of empty buildings across the city, trying to find the best place to put a training center, career and learning center rather. I would say, if anything, for those of you on the call, is instead of thinking big and thinking like, how do I get myself a 100,000 square foot building? I challenge you to think small and look at some of those small things that you can do that can make a difference. It might not be headcount, adding and how do I get more instructors? Maybe it's do I need to have a graduation ceremony? Have we hand carried people over to make sure they know where to clock in? How intimidated are people for these new jobs that we have? And how can we change that perception to make sure they're more comfortable and competent and ready for their job?
Oh, very nicely put. And Michelle?
Yeah, so back to Jennifer's point, don't give up. Start small, but I would also say don't be afraid to try things. So there have been programs we have tried that have failed, and that's okay. I tell my team every day we get the opportunity to learn. And so we tried something and I bet we learned from it. So whether we said, wow, that wasn't so bad, here's how we could make it better, and we come back tomorrow and we work to make it better, or we come back and say, man, that just didn't work out. That's okay. Then let's put that off to the side and know that we tried it and it didn't work. But start somewhere, don't give up, and don't be afraid to try new things.
No, I think that's a great place to leave it. We'll leave it right there. So thank you to Textron Aviation Systems, and congratulations for being SME's recipient of this year's Excellence in Manufacturing Training Award. It's been our privilege to share your story with those who are listening in today. We'll bid you adieu. Thank you very much, and be safe and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.